Chancellor, I'm now honoured to present the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa. Victoria University is proud to honour the Honourable Julia Gillard for her outstanding contribution to Australian society as a Member of Federal Parliament representing the Western region of Melbourne. As a Federal Minister, Ms Gillard championed important reforms of the education sector designed to enhance educational outcomes for all Australians, including, importantly, those from low socioeconomic status backgrounds. And on becoming Australia's 27th Prime Minister, she led a government which introduced significant new initiatives, including sweeping changes to the delivery of disability care. Born in Barrie, Wales, Ms Gillard came to Australia with her parents in 1966. After graduating from Unley High School, Ms Gillard enrolled in an arts and law degree at the University of Adelaide. It was during her time at the University of Adelaide that she became involved in a campaign against education funding cuts. In 1982, she was elected National Education Vice President of the Australian Union of Students and was elected President in 1983. Ms Gillard moved to Melbourne to complete her degree at the University of Melbourne. She joined the Carlton branch of the ALP while studying at university and served as its president. After graduating, she worked as a solicitor with the law firm Slater & Gordon and became a partner in 1990. Her work at Slater & Gordon predominantly focused on employment law, securing fairer treatment for workers and clothing trade out workers who had been underpaid. From 1996 to 1998, Ms Gillard served as Chief of Staff to the then opposition leader of the state of Victoria, John Brumby. She first contested the federal seat of Lalor for the Australian Labor Party in 1998 and was elected that year. From 1998 to 2001, she served on the House of Representatives Standing Committee on Employment, Education and Workplace Relations. In 2001, she was appointed Shadow Minister for Population and Immigration and subsequently took on responsibilities for Reconciliation and Indigenous Affairs in 2003. From 2003 to 2006, she was Shadow Minister for Health. On the 4th of December 2006, she became Deputy Leader of the Australian Labor Party and served as Shadow Minister for Employment and Industrial Relations and Social Inclusion. In 2007, with the election of a federal Labor government, Ms Gillard became Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Education, Employment and Workplace Relations and Social Inclusion. In June 2010, Ms Gillard became the first female leader of the ALP and, as a consequence, Australia's first female Prime Minister, serving as Australia's 27th Prime Minister, and led the formation of the Gillard Labor government following the 2010 election. Ms Gillard was Prime Minister until the 26th of June 2013, leading a government that introduced a large number of important pieces of legislation, including putting a price on carbon and initiating the national broadband network, while maintaining a stable economy at a time of international financial instability and providing strong values-based leadership on key issues. Ms Gillard forged a new diplomatic architecture with China while strengthening Australia's alliance with the United States. Throughout her time as a Member of Parliament, Ms Gillard served the west of Melbourne with distinction. Along with many other initiatives, her education reform was particularly relevant to the Western region of Melbourne and to Victoria University. Many of her reforms were driven by her belief that education was central to a strong economy because of the role it plays in developing the skills that lead to rewarding and satisfying work and builds a high productivity, high participation economy. Ms Gillard also recognised that education should be open to everyone and introduced measures to help low-income families support their children's education. Following her retirement from politics, Ms Gillard was appointed an Honorary Visiting Professor at the University of Adelaide. She serves as a non-resident Senior Fellow at the Brookings Institution in Washington and in February 2014 was appointed Chair of the Global Partnership for Education. In recognition of her outstanding contribution to Australian society as a Federal Member of Parliament, especially her role in championing important reforms in the education sector and in disability care, and her commitment to the advancement of Australia as Australia's 27th Prime Minister, I present to you for admission to the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa, Julia Eileen Gillard.
Authority vested in me by the Council of Victoria University, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa. Congratulations again. I now invite Dr Gillard to deliver the occasional address.
Thank you very much, even if introduced with a still unfamiliar title. I start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet in a spirit of reconciliation, paying my respects to elders past and present. To the Chancellor, George Pappas, thank you very much for this honour bestowed on me today. Thank you personally, and through you, thank you to the University. To the Vice-Chancellor, Peter Dawkins, when I first commenced my journey as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Education, we spent 12 months working together on a committee known as the Productivity Working Group, and many of the reforms that he has spoken about so generously tonight have their genesis in the work of that committee in which he played a very full part. So it is a genuine pleasure to be here in the university that you lead. To the academic staff, to everybody who has received an academic award today, to their family and friends, to people who have gathered to watch me receive this doctorate, could I particularly acknowledge Labor members Telmo Languila and Don Nardella who have come tonight, Adjunct Professor of this university, Nicola Roxon, a great friend of mine from my days in federal politics, and so many friends who have come from the electorate that I served so proudly for so many years. Thank you for being here. Tonight does give me an incredible sense of going full circle. When I commenced my political career, in the sense of first raising my voice about something that seemed to me to be wrong, and that was education cutbacks, particularly cutbacks to university. In the course of that protest campaign, which generated a lot of support not only amongst students but also amongst academic staff, including staff at the very highest levels of universities, I was invited as an undergraduate to address a graduation ceremony at Adelaide University as part of the movement in that campaign. Quite an unusual thing to have happen, to have an undergraduate speak to graduates. And so, given that was a start of my political career, it feels very much a homecoming to be here after my career in active politics and receiving this award. One of the constants across that journey has been my family. My mother and father witnessed me give that graduation address. They did so in very comfortable seats in the front row in a hall that looked a little bit like this, with people wearing the gowns and the mortarboards. But being the kind of parents they were, they also took an uncomfortable place at the back of a protest rally, because if I was going to address a protest rally in Rundle Mall, then they were going to be there too, taking up the average age as a result of their attendance. So having had family support me across that journey, I explained to my family that I would be here tonight. Of course, my mother was thrilled, as was my partner Tim. I have to report that my niece Jenna, who is a doctor, she has a PhD as a result of her studies in agricultural science, gave perhaps the kind of world-weary sigh that people who have worked hard for their doctorates do when they hear that someone's going to get an honorary doctorate. So I might be hearing some of those world-weary sighs from behind me. When I told my nephew Tom, he joked that I might be good for a prescription for antibiotics in the future. My dog Reuben is now expecting me to attend to his vet needs instead of needing to be swept up and taken to the vet. And my sister, always the one to get to grips with the details, decided to find out what she could about this university. And so she found out that this university, VU, is the successor to the Footscray Technical School. Indeed, if you add up the time of the Footscray Technical School and then this university, we are almost at 100 years. But she also found out that the man who established the Footscray Technical School was a man called Charles Archibald Holdley, who you probably recognise that name, the Chocolate family, and yes, they are responsible for the production of the Polly waffle. So with her undertaking that research, this is necessarily going to be a short speech, or I'll never hear the end of it. But I did, in this short speech, want to say it's not only a sense of coming full circle from that first graduation ceremony to this one, it's a sense of also coming back to this region of the world that I love so much and spent so much time serving. When I was Prime Minister, I would often think to myself about the policies that would work in the western suburbs of Melbourne, absolutely convinced that if we could design policies that would work here, then we were designing policies that would be good for the whole of the nation. Because here in Melbourne's west, in the suburbs that this university was particularly set up to serve, what you see is a fantastic combination of the right policies from government joining with strong community bonds, joining with families that work hard and want to get ahead, joining with young people who want to seize an opportunity. And time after time, as member for Lawler moving through Melbourne's west, you would see the product of those wonderful stories. The child of a refugee family who would end up getting an academic qualification from this university. The son or daughter of a manufacturing worker who went on to succeed at this university. You would meet members of our local Indigenous community who were proud that their children had a role and had a place here at this university. This is a story of opportunity. Yes, government's got to play its part, but it wouldn't work if this university didn't reach out deeply into the community, forging the strongest of bonds and making sure that it was serving not only people in these suburbs, which it does so intensely, but people beyond. And as I look out on the people who have received an academic award tonight, I know that I am seeing people who have proudly stepped forward and through a lot of hard work seized that opportunity. So I want to conclude by just saying a few words to you, to those of you who are clutching that all-important qualification in your hand. Number one, don't ever mislay that, because I managed to and it's really hard to get copies. But perhaps more profoundly, in clutching that qualification in your hands, what you are really doing, whether you're consciously thinking about it or not, is you are taking part, you are a part of the thing that is the most powerful change agent in our world. And if I can refer you, as no doubt your lecturers have across the course of your studies, to some further reading, I would recommend to you that you go on the New York Times website and read there an opinion piece flowing from observations about the tragic, repugnant kidnapping of schoolgirls in Nigeria. And the observation that is made there on the pages of the New York Times is when terrorists wanted to strike hard and strike deep, they didn't choose bombing a military facility, they didn't choose storming a House of Parliament, they didn't choose disrupting a commercial centre. What they chose to do was to stop girls going to school. A recognition that the most powerful thing in our world is the power of what you've been doing over your years here. That is the power of education. It transforms lives, and by transforming an individual's life, it transforms the lives of communities, it transforms the lives of nations, and ultimately it transforms the journey of the whole of our world. You are doing something and have succeeded at doing something that is so precious and is to be so valued. So, a change for you, a change for your family, a change for the community you live in, and a well-deserved change with you receiving your academic awards tonight. Wherever else the journey takes you, I hope you remember this night with pride. I most certainly will. Thank you very much to this university for this honour.